Hello, how's it going? Garmin is here. Happy to greet you in the first ever video on LP23 channel. I apologize in advance for my accent. I hope you can understand me well enough. And for this first ever video for this channel, we'll be doing a Guardragon deck profile. Yes, you heard me right, the pure Guardragon deck profile. This deck has been so neglected over the years by the Yu-Gi-Oh community. It's actually insane. No one even acknowledges its existence, but we are here to change this. I have seen some profiles on YouTube and on the other platforms, but none of them really seem to use the same engine I do, so I hope you all can get something from this video and maybe test the deck yourselves. Although, if I have to be honest, the deck is really not that good. It's not really that great going second, unless you open right hand. It doesn't really provide much big degree of interruption, but it's a fun idea nonetheless. So let's start with the list. First of all, we are of course playing Vanillas, because this deck has to play Vanillas. So we are playing, of course, 3 copies of Guardragon Justicia, and 3 copies of, surprisingly, Blue Eyes White Dragon. Why are we playing those cards? Well, Justicia is the archetypal vanilla monster. It is easily searchable by the later cards in the list, which you can see on the right here. It has sizable defense on 2100. You could actually substitute this for any other level 2 dragon tuner. This is the only important part. It has to be level 2 dragon normal tuner. So if you want to run, for example, I don't know, Galaxy Serpent, feel free to. And Blue Eyes White Dragon, what is there to say about this card that hasn't already been said like 1,000 times before? It's a big monster, it's a vanilla, it's most likely a brick in the hand, it is searchable, it is a trading target. Good to play if you are playing the engine, which we of course are. And if we are playing the Blue Eyes engine, we of course play 3 copies of White Stone of Legends. This is to search, of course, our big vanilla brick in the deck. And we are also playing 2 Sage with Eyes of Blue. Why not 3? Because honestly, it's not really the greatest normal summon of this deck. You have better options. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this one. It's not the greatest normal summon, but it is one nonetheless. And if you are playing a Blue Eyes engine that utilizes Sage, we of course play 2 Effect Veiler, which is sadly the only hand trap we had the space to put in this deck, because it's honestly, the engine is giant. You cannot really cut anything from the deck unless you maybe trap card, but also not really, because it's one of your only interruptions. So we sadly had the space for only 2 hand traps, so I chose 2 Effect Veilers because they are easily searchable with Sage. And they are quite good in this current format, although from my experience, hand traps aren't really that great in this format. They have to be a high impact ones, but this can be another interrupt if you search this out of Sage. So moving on, next up we play 3 Guardragon Prominences and 2 Guardragon Garmides. This is our Guardragon package. Prominences is a monster that, when it is in the graveyard and a normal monster is sent from the hand or from anywhere pretty much to the graveyard, you can special summon this card to the field, and Garmides works similarly, but it works from the hand. So if a normal monster is sent from anywhere to the graveyard, you can special summon this from your hand. And also they both have their own effect, where Prominences can discard itself to give one of your dragons 500 attack and defense, and Garmides can, when it's in your graveyard, discard a normal dragon type monster to get yourself back into your hand. So you see the synergy, right? You send this to your graveyard and this, then you search, for example, Blue Eyes, discard the Blue Eyes with Garmides, and you summon both of them. Easier. It's as easy as it gets. Why are we not playing 3 Garmides, you might ask? Well, it's not really that great of a normal summon. It's more or less an extender and a comeback enabler, and Prominences is invaluable to this deck. You have to play 3 Prominences. I have seen people playing 2 Prominences in Guardragon lists, as few as there are, but in my opinion you can't really go without 3 of those. Next up, we are also playing Tempest engine. So we are playing 3 Lightning, Dragon Ruler of Drafts, and of course 1 Tempest, the Dragon Ruler of Storms. Sadly, the only Dragon Ruler remaining of the list get put to 3, or that other Dragon Ruler gets let loose to the format, so we can play more of them. Of course, Lightning being an amazing card that can discard any dragon type from your hand to special summon Tempest right from your deck. You might argue Tempest is a Garnet in this case, but it's not really that bad. If you open any of your normal summons, you can usually just combo off. I mean, quote unquote combo off. This deck doesn't really do that much combo going on, but it's a really good engine. Tempest also can special summon itself back to the field many times on the course of the duel from your graveyard, so it's a really good comeback enabler if you are ever in a bad situation. And of course, this being a vanilla deck, playing 3 archetypal normal monsters and 3 other, we have to play 3 Rescue Rabbit and 3 Unexpected Die. I don't think I have to explain what those do. Rescue Rabbit summons 2 Justicias from your deck, which can be used to go into Crystron Fibrax, or Needle Fiber as everyone calls it anyway. And Unexpected Die summons 1 Justicia straight from your deck, although you have to have an empty field, so feel free to cut this to 2. Next up, we are playing, of course, our draw engine, because Blue Eyes is mainly here to be a draw engine, which also synergizes well with our main deck engine. We are playing 2 cards of Consonants and 2 trade-ins. I am not really playing 3 of either, because they tend to break sometimes when you don't really have a discard, or when you want to use the discard in different way. They tend to be a nuisance in hand, so 2 is a really good ratio for me. It worked, so I don't know, for me it just worked. Feel free to experiment with this list if anyone even wants to. Next up, we are of course playing 2 World Legacy Guardragon. Why are we playing only 2? Like, Garmedes, you just said everyone says it's a really good extender. But sadly, it is a hard once per turn. You can't really search this, because that's the main issue of this archetype. Not really an archetype, but it pretty much works as one. You can't really search your spell and traps. You have to rely on drawing them. That's why we are running Blue Eyes engine. So this can sometimes clog up your hand if you open multiple of this. That's why I find playing 2 as optimal. Next up, we are playing, of course, staples. So 1 for 1 and 1 Monster Reborn. Sadly, both of them limited. We hope they ever get put to more than 1. We will play more if this ever happens. Last 4 slots, we are playing our trap card, the main interrupt of this deck, 2 Guardragon Cataclysm. You contribute 1 dragon to destroy 2 cards on the field. You can pretty much compare this to Icarus Attack, or you can compare this to, in more modern sense, Swords of Blackout. This pretty much works in the similar way, but for dragons, and we are summoning a bunch of dragons here, as you can say. So it's a really good interrupt option to get rid of your opponent's main resources before they go into the big link summons, for example. And the last 2 cards in the deck, because this is a 40 card list, we are playing 2 Guardragon Reincarnation. This is used to fusion summon your fusion monster, War Chalice, Guardragon Almarduke. If I have to be honest with you guys here, this one's not that great. It's pretty much your comeback enabler, another one of those, because you have to have 3 link monsters in your graveyard for this to work, unless you want to summon your fusion from your field, but at this point, why? But it's really not the best option. You can pretty much substitute this with Dragon's Mirror and it will work better. I just play Reincarnation because I like to play archetypal cards over staple cards, so... But if you are building this, feel free to swap this for Dragon's Mirror. It will always work out better in your favor. You can also, I think, swap 5-headed dragon just as a big body if you swap this for Dragon's Mirror. But we'll move on to our extra deck monsters. We of course are playing, as we've said before, War Chalice, Guardragon, Almarduke. This is our main going second boss monster, as it will be able to attack all monsters your opponent controls. It's honestly, it has a second effect where if this battles a link monster, you can banish one with the same link rating to destroy it and burn for some damage, but this pretty much never comes up. This almost always comes up when your opponent failed to kill you with Boral Sword and you already have Avermax in the graveyard, but this is such a niche scenario, I wouldn't really count on that. This is here just to be summoned out of our Reincarnation / Dragon's Mirror and to be a big 3k body that can attack all monsters your opponent controls. And that's pretty much all there is to it. 3 link monsters, so you can potentially play Super Polymerization with this deck, and I do in fact play this in my side deck, but as we are doing this profile on Master Jew, there is no side deck because Konami is on absolute copium. Okay, next position. Christian, Harpy Fibrax or Needle Fiber. This is pretty much your best enabler of bullshit this game has ever seen. In this deck especially, because one Rescue Rabbit can summon 2 Justices, which is in fact a tuner monster. So 1 Rabbit equals Harpy Fibrax equals all this bullshit this card can provide. We are not running this stupid Deathbot engine, but if you wish to brick every game and play Garnets, I guess you can play that. It's up to you. It's up to you if you really want to. Sadly, Master Duel did not allow me to bookmark the next card, so we will just search it real quick. Our next position in the extra deck lineup is our Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon. It doesn't really come up that often, but you can summon it, and it's a really good Boral Sword-ish card that can non-target remove your opponent's monsters, it can get over things. It sometimes comes up, not really that often. Let's go over the next card. Our next card, which is I think we have to talk about first, is Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. This is the main boss monster of the deck since we are running a Blue Eyes lineup. You can easily summon this from your standard line of play. It's a Floodgate if you're playing against a Pendulum deck or Numeron, I guess, because who the hell plays Pendulums, am I right? And this is also one of your pretty much only extra deck monster negate. I mean, one of 2, because it can negate effects that activate in the graveyard. This actually comes up more often than you think. For example, in a Shadow matchup, when you're playing against Shadows, this is a really good negate. And it can also be an active interrupt, not only to the graveyard. If you are playing our next position on this list, Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, which when summoned, allows you to return 1 monster, special summoned monster your opponent controls, to the hand. And if you are returning an extra deck monster, it is of course returned back into the extra deck, so you can, with your Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, Blue Eye Spirit Dragon combo, you can pretty much get rid of your opponent's monster in the middle of their combo and make them waste resources. This is a really good play. And our alternative option is of course 1 Azurized Silver Dragon, as is for all Blue Eyes decks running Spirit Dragon. This is more of a defensive option when you need to give your dragon some protection. Sadly, you cannot protect yourself from the likes of Lightning Storm because of timing shenanigans, etc. Good card nonetheless. Next position on this list is Vermilion Dragon Mech. This card is actually, I think, one of the best cards in this extra deck. Why? Because by banishing 1 tuner monster from your graveyard, you can pop 1 card on the field. And we have a ways to loop this, because this is only, as you can see in this text, a soft once per turn. Therefore, we have a ways to summon this like 3 times back to the field and loop this. So it's like Diet Access Code Talker. I mean, you could actually run Access Code Talker in this build, but we are running this. I don't own Access Code Talker in real life, so I'm pretty much not willing to buy it. But Vermilion works pretty well too, I guess. Our next card is Cloud Castle. This is a straightforward level 9 synchro monster that can revive one of your boss monsters, because all of your extra deck boss monsters that are not links pretty much are level 9, with some exceptions of course. But it can revive Almarduke if it died, it can revive Spirit Dragon, And it can also revive and reset Vermilion. So you get where we are going with this, right? And we are also playing one Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon because you can make this, and why wouldn't you? Next up on the list is 9 Lives Cut. This is an obscure choice for, I think, anyone who never heard of this card, but pretty much it requires 2 level 9 monsters. It gives your monster special summon from the graveyard some degree of protection, and it's another card that can revive Vermilion, and you can actually, if your opponent has a monster in the graveyard already, you can make this out of Vermilion, de-attach Vermilion to summon Vermilion back, and reset its effects. Yeah, good card. What can I say? It allows you to loop Vermilion. Next up on the list is one Salamangreat Almirage. This is pretty much a bridge. If you want to link off any of your monsters, for example your Prominences, this is pretty much an interchangeable choice between, like, for example, Linkuriboh, sorry, I forgot the name, or your Link Spider, which you can run in this deck, but I choose not to. But Almirage I found to be the most flexible of the three, because you can actually link off monsters that are not level 1 or that are not normal monsters, but they have to be normal summoned, which pretty much is never an issue in this deck. And there are some cards that sadly Master Duo did not allow me to save up, so we will just search them real quick. Next position of this list is one copy of Saryuja Skulljet. This is your second enabler right after Needle Fiber. You make this after going into your Needle Fiber, and sometimes it allows you to draw and fix your hand, but more or less this is used to quickly summon up a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand to the field, so you can go into Spirit Dragon out of it. And the next card on this list is the card I actually got from a booster pack. Actually, fun fact, all of those cards, yes, I have this deck in real life, all of those cards I obtained only from booster packs. I did not buy a single for this deck. So, next up is Blackluster Soldier, the Link monster. It's the Soldier of Chaos one, there he is. This is actually a really good boss monster if you are going second. It has a big protection if you summon it out of, for example, Tempest or your Blue Eyes. It can get to a really high number of 4500 if you destroy one card with it, or you can non-target banish one card on the field, or if you want to, you can make this a multiple attacker, a really good card. Next up, our second boss monster, and actually your main boss monster of the deck, because you are making this guy most often, is your Mech Knight Crusadia Avromax. And you are making this with, always, you pretty much never want to make this normally, you always want to make this with IP Masquerena. When you make this with Masquerena, this gets the same protection as your Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, and you can't really get over it by battle, because it will always gain attack over your opponent's monster. Therefore, it is a really hard to out boss monster, unless of course your opponent is playing Kaijus, at which point you are kind of screwed with this deck. But yes, actually, come to think of it, the better way to play this deck actually, I think, is just Avromax Turbo. It won me more games than my standard combo. So yeah, that will wrap it up for this Guardragon deck profile. I apologize it wasn't done in real life since I do have the deck, but I don't really have a well-functioning camera, and I didn't want to use my phone because the quality of the video would be fucking garbage. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this deck profile. I hope it will help you build a Guardragon deck if you are also into this deck. And remember, next ban list, LP2 free.